Costa Rica is a small Central American country, independent since early in the 19th century. Although still poor, it became a democracy with property rights and rule of law, with a strong agricultural base, including chocolate. We went to a tourist site demonstrating how chocolate is created, from growing cacao to hot chocolate and chocolate candy. Costa Rica is volcanic, creating mountainous regions which actually benefit some products like coffee and cacao. Rainforests create the beautiful countryside. Of course, it means treacherous back roads to get there. Gary is our guide, making his name easy for me to remember. We start with the plantation, something of a disappointment if expecting a working farm. But here is a cacao tree with fruit pods, some ready to harvest. Seeing it up close with all the work done by hand shows many of the steps involved. The ripe pod snaps off the tree, ready to be processed. The pods are usually harvested by hand with a machete. The pod is opened, the seeds kept, and the pulp made into juice. The empty pod, called rind, is thrown away. Gary starts with a ripe pod and cuts it in two, showing the beans surrounded by the pulp. They call them beans, although they are technically seeds. The pulp is thick, milky, and sweet. We want to try it. The beans and pulp are dried for several days. This ferments the beans, which lessens the bitterness and brings out the chocolate flavor. Then it is dried and roasted. The pulp sweats away, but could be gathered to turn into a distilled liquor. These were steps done behind the scenes to speed up the presentation. The beans are shelled with a winnowing machine, leaving the nibs. Gary emphasized grinding the beans with the beans pre-shelled. He shows it by hand, that is, in a big bowl with a large pounder, then using a grinding machine. Gary hands out ground beans. They are edible, just not tasty yet. We've seen all this work and not yet a product we want to eat. The processing essentially turns cacao into cocoa, less healthy but ready to turn into hot chocolate and candy. Here we go. Gary's making something great. He adds dried milk, sugar, then hot water. The verdict is unanimous. This hot chocolate is fantastic. But wait, there's more. Gary is making chocolate candy. This was another long behind the scenes process. Dried milk and some hot water was added to the cocoa. The process is to heat it properly, which requires skill, and cool it down to the right temperature and consistency. Then dab it into chocolate pieces ready to serve. They made more chocolate topped with fruit. What a delight! We're on to chocolate candy factories, then multi-billion-dollar industry processing millions of tons of cacao every year. Next time on Food History and Mystery.